Okay, so in this week's lesson, we're going to break down some classic open string bluegrass licks that are connected to basic cowboy chords. We're going to look at our G chord, our C chord, and our D chord. Cowboy chords are just these open position, those first chords that we learn. And we'll connect the licks to those chords to make this easy so that you can reference them in the future. When you're playing a G chord, you can remember some of these licks. Hopefully, at least that's the idea. And so even if you're not a bluegrasser, if you're not a fan of this style of music, you'll appreciate some of these licks. You can work them in your lead, obviously, but they're great little fill licks. So I get that question a lot from a lot of people that sing and play, and they're looking for little fills to do in between their vocal lines. So if you're strumming something, for example, you could do in between, you know, while you're strumming and singing, you do little lead, little fills, and it makes it so much easier to do that when you connect the lick to the chord itself. And so in this video, we're going to break down everything that I played over the G chord, and there's a lot of that material, so you get a lot of ideas in this video. If you'd like to watch what I played over the C chord and the D chord and get the tablature for everything, get those extra materials for this lesson, you can get those by going to activemelody.com and doing a search for ML119. Okay, and I should mention, we are going to break down everything that I played in the intro. These are all just ideas that we're going to be covering in this. The first thing I want you to do is play your G chord like this. Just make sure your pinky is on the 3rd fret 1st string. I know sometimes we play it like this with that D note in there, but either way, your pinky needs to be on that 3rd fret 1st string. It allows you to do these licks and strum the chord. It's a lot harder, at least for me, for my hand, if I'm using my ring finger. When I first learned to play a G chord, that's how I learned it, and it always threw me off when I tried to do some of these kinds of things down the road. So anyway, that's how I'm making my chord, with my pinky on that 3rd fret 1st string. And the first idea is super simple. Check this out. It's just a little bass thing that I'm doing on the 6th string. It's a hammer-on between the 2nd fret and the 3rd fret. But I remember learning that, and that became a game changer for me when I was playing rhythm. It gives you a rhythm, and it also gives you a bass line. It's a very cool thing. Just that little hammer-on. When you're playing that, just remember that when you're going into your G chord. And that's how I started this. So I played that, and then I did a strum. Now the next line goes like this. So another little line and a strum. Now this line is on the 5th string. We're going to play open 1, 2. Now this note that I landed on, the 2nd fret 5th string, that's another note in my G chord. That's my B note, right? So we just walked up to that note basically in the chord. And notice with that pinky there, it allows me to strum the rest of that chord. I'm strumming strings 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So, and part of the magic of this sound, this bluegrass open string lick idea that gives it kind of that bluesy vibe is this. It's going from the flat 3 to the 3. And you hear it. That all those little bluesy licks, it doesn't matter what chord you're doing. It's when you hear the flat 3 going to the 3. That's the key. If I were to boil all of the sound of what we're going to go through here that creates that bluesy kind of bluegrass thing, it's the flat 3 to the 3. So after that, we're going to do another strum, and then watch this lick. This is another classic bluegrass move. So it's open G string, and I'm doing an upstroke, open 3rd string, and then there's the 2nd fret on the 4th string, back to that open G string, so we have, and then we're going to slide up on that 4th string. I'm going to slide up with my middle finger up to the 5th fret, and I'm hitting that same note, which is my G note. So it's, and you hear this on banjo bluegrass, you hear it in mandolin, you hear it on acoustic guitar. It's a common bluegrass move to take an open string and slide up to that same note on a different string. It happens in blues a lot too. And what it allows you to do, why I'm such a fan of it, is like in this case, since we're playing over the G chord and that's an open G note, if I'm matching that note on the string below it, I can do can do stuff like that. I can kind of create little harmonies, you know, by letting that one string kind of drone out. So anyway, from the beginning, now we're gonna go back down, play this. So this lick is really kind of playing what we already played, but in reverse. So we're gonna go down to the 3rd fret, 4th string, or play 3rd, 2nd, open. Little strum there. Notice I didn't even have to have my hand down. I didn't have to fret anything. Because when you're playing a G chord, you've already got an open, like just playing open strings, 4, 3, and 2 are open G. So you can go and strum, you know, just hit a little bit of that chord. And then watch this. This is sort of a Tony Rice lick. I love this. So it's coming back to that flat 3rd, 1st fret, 5th string. We're gonna hammer on to the 2nd fret, and then play the open D string. So it's a downstroke, upstroke on the D string. And then watch this. There's a pull off on that 1st fret, 5th string. And then back down to the 3rd fret, 6th string. So all together that lick goes. Now that's one that you're just gonna have to work on. That one took me a while when I first learned it, you know, years ago. Just do it like this, just loop it. That's how I learn all this stuff. It's kind of fun to do. Now work that in with this. There's your little dig. Now that's a great little bluegrass rhythm that you got going just with those two ideas there. But anyway, let's back it up from the beginning and play up to that point. Now one other idea I should mention is notice the tone changes every now and then. And I find myself, you know, it's one of these things you just sort of instinctively do the more you play it, but you dig in back here. Pull back closer to the bridge. Get those real bright sounds. Now it was a little obnoxious when I just did that, but that's what I'm doing, is to create that kind of nasally, trebly sound. You just kind of pull your hand back and pick closer to the bridge. If you want it more bassy or mellow, you go towards the sound hole, actually towards the neck. See how much the difference? You have a whole symphony of sound, you know, between here and here. Okay, now after I get back to this G chord here, watch this. I just played a G7, but I'm playing it maybe a little different than you've played it. This is how I learned a G7. I keep these two fingers, my middle finger, my ring finger where they are, and then I've got my index finger on the 1st fret, 1st string. But then I like to put my pinky down on that 3rd fret, 2nd string and play that D note. That's just how I learned a G7. I'm not sure. Actually, the first way I learned it was like this. But then somewhere along the line, I picked that up and I liked the sound of that. And to play that, I was accenting that flat 7 like this. I hit it twice, so it's down, up, up. 2 upstrokes there in between the strums to kind of accent that flat 7. Now watch this next lick. That gets me to the 4 chord. Isn't that cool? Let's break that down. There's a lot of meat on the bone here on this lick. So what we're gonna do is off of this G7, we're gonna start with this note, this flat 7, which is the 1st fret, 1st string, and play open string, and then 3rd fret, 2nd string. And then come down to the 1st fret, 2nd string. I'll explain where these notes are coming from here in a minute, but it's, and then we're gonna come down to the 3rd fret, 3rd string, play that and slide my hand up to the 4th fret, 3rd string. There's the flat 3, going to the 3. There's that sound again, like we did down here, right? Same thing, it's just an octave higher. And then you play your open G string. That right there is magic that happens throughout bluegrass. This. You can hear that in so many different songs and so many different players, some version of that. Playing the flat 3 to the 3 and then the open G string. It's very common in bluegrass. So these are the bluegrass secrets revealed. Maybe that'll be the title. Nah, it's corny. Okay, so after that, I come down to the 4th string and play open, 2nd fret, and then open 3rd string. And then we're going to go down to the 3rd fret 4th string and play 3, 2, open. So altogether those 6 notes are. So it's. Notice that was actually a hammer on there. I should have said that. So when I played the open 4th string and then that 2nd fret, that's a hammer on. So all together then. And this is where the song goes to the 4 chord, which is our C. And after that I just walked it up. Open, this is all on the 5th string. Open 1, 2, 3, and landed on that C note there. But we're not going to play that in this, and I want to show you a way to loop this. Since in this video we're just focusing on the G chord stuff, I want you to be able to loop what we've gone through here so that you can practice playing everything. It's sort of its own little song, but it's just one chord. It's a great way to practice. Get back to home. I'll get to that in a minute, but these notes here, these notes, we can look at it a couple of ways. First of all, the scale that's being used here would be G mixolydian. It's just your G major scale with a flat 7. So you just take the 7th interval and you flat it, and that's what G mixolydian is. But you could also think of this as G minor pentatonic scale pattern 5. Which is right here too. I want you to see minor pentatonic scale pattern 5, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, open, 3, open, 3, 1, 3, 1. You can see a lot of repetition there. And you can see that my G chord in first position, this cowboy chord, is right there. And so I'm just pointing that out because I'm trying to illuminate this in different ways. When you see that minor pentatonic, and you play on some of these licks, you'll see that minor pentatonic scale in there. Now, obviously, when I play that open string, that's coming from mixolydian, which is the technical scale that's used here. But sometimes it's easier to think of it as a minor pentatonic, and then sort of add the extra notes to make it something else. That's just the way my brain works. You do it however works best for you. But the key, the core sound to this, in my opinion, is that flat 3 to the 3. And then you follow it up with that open G string, the open G, going back to the 1, basically. You can do so much with that idea. Just play around with it. That's so much fun. Okay, let's take it from the beginning now. I want to show you how you can loop this. There's the 7. So that's one way to do it. I just came back to my G chord. So let's try that. Or you could do it like this. But once you can loop that, you've got a little song to sort of sit and practice some of these licks. And that's what I would do, is I would practice playing just this G part first. And what's awesome about this is it sounds great at any tempo. You could do this lightning fast if you want, and it'll sound like a proper bluegrass song. Or you could play this really slow and bluesy and kind of embellish it, and it sounds great that way. This way, right? just loop it back. And try and break away from the tab and everything that I'm showing you here a little bit and just see what happens if you like repeat a line, like if you do. You know, throw in little embellishments that are kind of unique to you. And that's where you'll start to grow and really develop as a player and start to come up with your own sound. You've got something inside of you that's unique to you that is nobody else has heard. There's some little idea that's floating around in your head, and take some of these ideas as starting points and then kind of go in your own direction. I think that's, if I could give you any advice, it would be that. That's what all the professionals do. They all kind of learn from somebody and then they kind of put their own signature sound on it. So anyway, that's what we have for the G chord. Now come join us in part 2 where we'll go over the C and the D chord and then have the entire composition that we can kind of pull together all 3 chords. Otherwise, you can just stay on this G chord and just practice that and come up with licks and ideas off that. And don't forget, you can use a capo. If you want to try this in a different key, you can throw a capo on and you can switch keys that way. That's what a lot of bluegrassers do. All right, if you've liked this lesson, you've picked up some ideas, please leave a comment. I always appreciate those. It helps me know what's resonating and what isn't. It helps me know if something's confusing as well. And so if something is confusing, let me know that. I like to read. I read through everything. Anyway, that's what we have for this video. We'll see you in part 2 where we'll go over the second half. 1, 2, 3.